everybody, Trevor here, and as promised, I'm here to talk about my honest thoughts on the cancelled season 25 of the original Thomas and Friends show. I first found this out on the Thomas and Tank Engine Wikia, where I get my Thomas information from as usual, and I was surprised that it was originally planned but cancelled in favor of the crappy All Engines Go reboot. If you thought that the first season of All Engines Go is season 25, then you are dead wrong. The real season 25 was never seen the light of day thanks to Mattel. Seriously, fuck you guys. Anyways, according to the Wikia, season 25 was to take place where season 24 left off, including some episodes taking place in Japan, where Hiro and Kenji originated from. There was also going to be an episode where Thomas fantasizes about time travel after seeing a replica of H.G. Wells' time machine at Timoth Museum, which first appeared in Thomasaurus Rex. And if that episode were produced, it would have featured the original Gauge 1 model of Thomas from Season 1 as part of that dream sequence, which would have been a perfect throwback in my opinion. But no, Mattel had to drop the idea in favor of the 2D animated reboot that nobody asked for in the first place. Seriously, what the hell, Mattel? Now, the Thomas Theorist made a video on this on his own channel, where he theorized that this particular episode would have been the 600th episode of the original Thomas series, which is a good point, but for the sake of my own words, I think it should be episode number 601 for many reasons. For one thing, seasons 23 and 24 had 20 episodes each, while season 22 had the usual 26 episodes. I'm pretty sure series 25 also would have had 20 episodes as well, and in my opinion, it would have made perfect sense for this cancelled time travel episode to be the final episode not only for the 25th season, but for the entire Thomas series as well. I mean, think about it. There was another popular PBS Kids show called Arthur, which was also one of my favorites as a kid, and unlike Thomas, which had 24 seasons total, Arthur's final season was the 25th, and it had a final episode where he and his friends were all grown up and spent time together, which I thought ended the series on an overall perfect note. Why can't Mattel do the same thing with Thomas the Tank Engine? I mean, I know I never wanted Thomas to be cancelled to begin with, but in all honesty, it should have ended with an actual Series 25, just like with Arthur. And not only that the time travel episode should have been number 601, but I also would have loved to see Thomas finally go to Japan just to see his friends Hiro and Kenji again. And no, the really useful around the world YouTube shorts don't count since those are not entirely canon to the CGI series. And that's another thing. Like season 24, which pretty much ended the series on a cliffhanger because of these reasons alone, season 21 also had plot threads that were never finished. For instance, in the season 20 episode Over the Hill, it was originally teased by the Earl of Sodor that he will open a railway museum in his estate, and that Stephen and Glenn would be a part of it. According to Sam Wilkinson, the railway consultant of Thomas and Friends, and an overall thieving scumbag, Duke was going to return in full CGI as part of the Earl's Railway Museum, but was suddenly dropped. In all honesty, if Duke were to return in full CGI, then he would most likely have the same exact voice as Bradford the Brakeman from season 20, just like how Scarlowe and Glenn share the same exact voice actor, but that's just a theory of mine. As a hardcore Thomas fan, the Earl's Railway Museum was the plot device that I was personally looking forward to the most when it comes to these brand new CGI episodes, even in the Big World Big Adventures era. But sadly, Mattel dropped the idea, for some stupid reason. Oh, and if the Earl's Railway Museum ever got greenlit again, then here are my top 5 characters who I think would make perfect candidates, besides Duke, Stephen, and Glenn of course. 1. Neil the box-shaped tank engine from Very Old Engines. 2. The Wellsworth and Suttery tank engines, or at least half of them. 3. Bloomer the red tender engine, who never appeared in any of the books. 4. Old Slow Coach, since many railway museums also preserve rolling stock such as cars and coaches. And 5. Even Stephen's competitors such as Sans Pareil and Novelty, who only appeared in King of the Railway. Wouldn't that be interesting? You see, this is why corporations like Mattel are not your friends. And this is also why fans like me know more about the original source material than anybody at Mattel could ever even hope to do. In fact, they are as bad as Disney, Viacom, and all those other greedy corporations when it comes to criticism and ruining nostalgia. And if you're going to defend Mattel after what they said and done, then I feel sorry for you. Now, I know I gave up on the show since All Engines Go was announced in 2020, and I'm boycotting Mattel because of this, but the problem is, I promised myself that I will remain a loyal Thomas fan no matter how good or bad some of the changes are. And like the rest of the Thomas fandom, I do my best to keep the original Thomas show alive, whether in model form or CGI form. But that doesn't mean I'm gonna binge watch every single episode of the reboot, because it still gives me a migraine from watching all that bouncy cartooniness and that it strays far from the original source material as much as possible. That's why I'd rather rewatch the first 24 seasons despite their ups and downs. Hell, even Thomas Magic Railroad was more canon than All Engines Go, and I can understand why some people may disagree with me on that. Well, those are my thoughts on season 25 of the original Thomas series and why it should have been greenlit in the first place. I hope you guys have agreed with everything I've said because let's face it, the original show should have ended on a much better note with that time travel episode instead of, Thomas's animal friends, which ended season 24 on such a sour note. If you don't count the Royal Engine special, that is. Now, I'm gonna take another break and a moment to calm down because this weekend, I'm gonna take a family trip to the Branson, Missouri Railroad, and I'll be making a video about it eventually. I can promise you that. This is Trevor Davis, signing off.